Hi, in this little clip we will be showing you millinery tools and equipment used in hat making. We will try to show you as many tools possible. If I can show you, as to begin with, big major tools, flower making tools, you might have seen them. You can buy them new, sometimes you can pick them up on the internet, on eBay, sometimes you get them in second-hand shops. A travel hat stretcher. It's made from wood. It can be opened up to your hat fitting you need. Sometimes hats are too small and this is the way you stretch them. Or when a hat is finished, the very last thing you do, you put in a hat stretcher to make the head fitting look nice. This is the same thing. A hat stretcher, but not of course to travel with. It belongs into your workshop and it gets opened and closed by turning. Little more sophisticated. Stretchers like this were made from wood. Now they are made from metal. A steamer. A steamer produces very fine hot steam and it is used for steaming felts. For some people use a steamer for straws, for renovating hats. And if you do not have a steamer, a kettle, an old-fashioned kettle which doesn't have an automatic off switch, is absolutely sufficient to use it as a tool. You turn the little lid of the kettle back with a piece of wire and you will find that continuous steam comes out. Equipment like this can be very expensive, so not for everybody it is something achievable. So a kettle, fine to use. A few more tools you will be needing. What you have to understand, I will definitely forget or not show you some items because they kind of go without saying, like scissors, we need tape measure, we need a tailor chalk. They're kind of the little things and they will come up, and most people of you might know that, will know that, and if you don't, they are very easily to come by and are understood. I'm trying to show you materials which are kind of a bit not so known and not so second nature to you. Those ones, for example, they are not second nature. They are heads we can use for placing a hat on when we work on the hat, when we want to design it, when we want to decorate it. And they are called, those particular ones are covered in linen and they are called poupées. Poupée being a French word, and if a French person is now listening to me, I probably pronounced it wrong, but this is how I call them, poupée or poupée. And poupées are very hard, covered with linen, and that one is a proper millinery one. This one is a wig one. So that doesn't really belong in the millinery industry, but we of course use it. Wig makers use that one, but in hat making, very practical. Again, not easy to come by, again, quite expensive. Now if you don't have that, get yourself a foam head. The disadvantage with the foam heads are they're flimsy, they fall over really easily, they are quite unsturdy, but you can fix that. Get yourself a piece of wood, find someone who is a wood maker, make a design of it. And if you don't find someone who has got a nice way of cutting wood, just get a square piece of wood, glue it on, and you will find that this becomes a very, very sturdy item to work on. One hint, do not use the millinery glue because it will eat the styropor. You have to get yourself a glue which is suitable. Go to a hardware shop in your area and you will find that, and it's not going to eat away. And there's many little things we need as tools, like needles. Needles is really important that we have the millinery needles, not dressmaking needles. They say on it either Modist, they say Hutnadeln in German, millinery needles or straw needles, this will tell you, and it will say the size. They come from size 3 up to 12. The 3s are used for hat block making. So somebody who doesn't make blocks, you don't need the thick needles. But number 7 to number 12, one should really have, because this is really important. And we will talk about this more in stitches. You have also need pins with little plastic heads, pony pins we call them. You need blocking pins. Blocking pins are important for blocking of hats, and I will speak very soon some more about this. Elastics, hat elastics by the meter, or with little silver ends. They keep the hat on the head. There's also other ways to keep the hat on the head. Elastics come by the meter or one-offs, and it's important that the hat elastic gets matched to the hair color, not the color of the hat. And then there is an elastic which is, not an elastic, wires. The hat making wires we need for putting onto crowns or wherever you need strengthening. Wire can be cotton covered, silk covered, or paper covered. And then there is what's called brim reed. It's plastic, used often if you want to be more invisible and light with wire. And then you have a wire which is called a braid wire. And as you can see, it is not thin, it is a braid, it is cotton, it has wire inside, and you can stitch with the sewing machine on top. And wire like this is used for bows or wherever you would like to get a formation happening with something very soft where you can stitch through. Not readily available, but you come across it. We need pliers to cut your wire. Whenever you cut wire, please make sure you cut between fingers so it doesn't flick off somewhere. You have a brush with natural bristles. This one is great and curved, wonderful to get into brims. But if you can't find a curved one, have a straight one. Natural bristle is important because when you get to steam with it, a natural bristle will not break on you, but plastic and synthetic has been shown and known in the past that it just burns away. Has happened even to me. And what did it teach me? Not to use it. You need a hand mirror. Hand mirrors to admire your hat you made. No, that's a joke. You need a hand mirror to see the back of the head. So you have a mirror behind you, because when you make hats, people often only see the front. They do not worry about the profile and the back. And that's really important. So therefore you have a hand mirror, you find your picture in the mirror behind you, and in that way you can check out profile and back. You need a thimble. Most important. Blocking without a thimble, impossible. A milliner without a thimble is not a milliner. This is what my very first teacher used to say when I started hat making. She said, if you cannot, because I didn't want to use one. I said, I can't wear a thimble. I don't want to. This is uncomfortable. And she said, if you want to be a milliner, you learn how to use a thimble. And now I find myself sometimes driving to the supermarket with the thimble on my hand, and I don't notice it. It's become part of who I am. And one other thing, which is a bit funny looking, is this. This is metal. Can you hear that? It's metal. It's boning from a corset. Not from this one, but probably that one has got some inside as well. And it's very flexible. And you use this to take brims of a block when they are stuck. Sometimes they stick and you can't get it off, so you go underneath and loosen it with this material. And this is an exciting tool. This is called an egg iron. An egg iron is used to pre-stretch felts. There would be a mechanism on a table, a little loop, you will stick this in here. Then you use a wet cloth. This is heated up. The iron is heated up on a gas stove. And then you use a wet cloth. You put that over. That creates steam. And then you pull your felts. Pull them and stretch them in the corners, in the parts you need width. But that one we're dealing more with when it comes to actual blocking. Now, I want to tell you something about blocking pins and hat blocks, because that is the only one I keep being on my soapbox what to do. Okay, and what I would like to say some more about blocking pins is I am an advocate for blocking pins to be used on hat blocks when you hold the material. The blocking pins are, you can't probably see it that closely, but they are metal, they are strong, they are short, and with the use of a thimble you can push them into wood. And in this way you hold straw and felt. I am an advocate for this because I've been taught that way, for the reason to keep hat blocks as good in condition as possible for my generation and for future generations, meaning not to ruin hat blocks. Another way of using blocking is tacks or mapping pins. You know those pins you use on a notice board? They're very thick, and sometimes people even use hammers and nails, little nails. And what happens when you use tacks, nails on a hat block over and over and over again? Something actually quite depressing happens when you love hat blocks. And what that is this. This is a hat block which has been used by a former milliner who has been in business for a long time, and her technique of teaching, we all have different techniques of making hats, teaching hats, and her preferred method was to use drawing pins and tacks. And by putting them in, what happened, the wood was eaten away and eventually started falling out. And this block is becoming in many ways quite useless. We could fill it with wood filler, but when you do that, then you can't put pins in anymore because the wood filler doesn't allow that to happen. So if you want to help maintain blocks for a long, long time to come, because they're getting rarer and rarer, the old blocks, then maybe it would be a useful thing to learn how to use the thimble and the metal pins. If you have been taught on tacks and drawing pins, if there's nothing else available and if you don't know how to do it, well, if you don't use the block often, you are not going to do great harm to it. This kind of harm happens if everyone does it. It's like with everything. A little bit doesn't hurt anyone. A lot of it definitely will do damage.